Mwiko 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 mwingi wa Kamĩrĩĩthũ mutiuke tunyitane.
My name is Mbothu Wachira. Born to my parents Wachira Mbothu and Geoffrey Mbothu Wachira. I was born in early 60s at Kamĩrĩĩthũ location, Limuru division, now presently Kioi County. I started my school in 1963 up to 1969. The primary school was Kamamdula Primary School. In 1970s, I just went to Kenya High School from 1970 up to 1973. Previously, it was known as Manyani. There was a trench, which were during the Corona days, whereby those people, our parents, were being taken to dig that trench, so that whoever got arrested could not be able to jump out of that compound. It was a very big trench. It just even came to be buried out, buried CFD, soil erosion, or some other people who are workers in that place. I can even see that it's no longer there nowadays. After that, in 1973, I just went to Nairobi to take my course in accounts. It was 1978, I got employed by Kenya Tea Development Authority. My father couldn't have come at that time because he said that there are the people who are on the side of the colonialists. So he had to stay at Nairobi. I could not have differentiated why they are forcing my father to be like a refugee in another town, to be forced to be coming during the night time when he is not to be seen, and wake up very early in the wee hours to go back to Nairobi. We do not get much mixed up with the village people. You know, there's a kind of a division. You're not getting bothered to go and mix with them. Probably, if at all you are the one who got pinned because your father didn't get anything, those are the children just saying they are sons of homeguards, A, B, C, D. Then I would tell you, okay, your father didn't got nothing. It's only because you had gone to Tanzania. You got these women, Chaga women, you started dancing with them, Ruba, anything. If you want to fight the Mau, my parents stuck here. That is why you just been told to stay at Kamĩrĩĩthũ village. You got nothing. Furthermore, you want to tell me that Kenyatta is going to do something for you? No. Kenyatta would have done nothing. It's only because they were after the presidency. What about those people who voted for Uhuru? Each one for himself. They were fighting for themselves. They were after whatever he would have got. My father owned almost about 20 acres, but and we got several plots at the Kamĩrĩĩthũ village. My grandfather, and you see this road now, and this other one, my grandfather are the ones we just been saying that they were going to Kioi. Shura is a kind of a court, whereby if at all you have got a problem with your land or whatever, they are the elders who would have settled that matter for you. Kari can say that I'm going to Limuru law court. They used to call them Shura. They had authority. They could have commanded you. During the colonial government, I would say that it benefited because we are part of those grandfathers. Especially like now, because I have told you that this land belongs to my father. There is some other fathers of mine. When you go outside Kamĩrĩĩthũ, we call it Mutarakwa. They own lands. I would say my grandfather did a great thing because he could not have participated in that court for nothing. The first thing, he favored himself. He allocated himself for his children. Yeah. Before these other people come, the first thing you do, this portion is mine. Especially like this one, you see this one on the other side of the road. They are probably almost about, I can say it's almost about 40 acres. And 40 acres is not a small thing. No question about it. And you cannot ask him why have you allocated for yourself 40 acres? Why ourselves, we have been put probably like in one cell at Kamĩrĩĩthũ. Not many people benefited from those suburbs, apart from a few of them. Probably not unless you just been a Christian and you came from a Church of the Torch, Church where Kimori, at Kikuyu. Those ones benefiting because they just hibernated in the PCA, Presbyterian Church of East Africa. That is why by those Christians got allocated, and they've just been having the same share. Even probably most of them have got probably 20 acres. And that is why probably sometimes back they used to say that these are sons of the home guards. In the early 76, 77, if I can remember, that's when the prayer started. And we used to meet at the Kamĩrĩĩthũ social hall. In our language, you seem to say Shashi hall. It's only because our mothers would not have been able to say in a social home. And that is what just been attending the rehearsal of Ngaahika Ndeenda at Kamĩrĩĩthũ social hall. The social hall was made not like now you have done things with the timber. It was manned. Furthermore, it was even falling. And furthermore, if I thought they have not have taken some action by that time, there is probably 76, 77, we just started that prey. It would have been grabbed. And that is why the Kinangogo were just on that if I thought you are not going to take some measures, this thing you might find that some people building, constructing some houses, constructing something else. That is when in another Muhindi was known as Samdi. Yeah, he was part and parcel of the Kinangogo Wadiongo, the rating Gogo Wameria. He was part and parcel of that road. They started a sketch map of how far they can make a stage. And from after that, Akina Samdi, they bought the timbers, these baobab trees, and Romeos and whatever. After they had constructed that stage, that is our real rehearsal just took place, so that you may be able to know how you are going to get in, how you are going to get out, how you are going to pass one another without blocking the people, the audience from seeing. For information, that woman Amon she's the woman who just got in, who informed Akinangogo Wadiongo about that how the Kamĩrĩĩthũ social is going to be grabbed. Had it not been for her, probably could not have taken her. We would have gone probably somewhere else. The council, if at all he wanted the plot, he would have gone and seen him. Even the chief and the assistant chief by that time, they had powers. What motivated me because we were idle. We had 7 cousins of ours. We used to come from, we used to come here. After that, we would have gone to Kamĩrĩĩthũ. After that, we would have gone to Mutarakwa. After that, we would have gone to Kamandora. That is the moment when we heard that the Gogo and Marie and Gogo Wadiongo have got a brief. And they had produced a manuscript so that on a certain day, we meet at the Kamĩrĩĩthũ social home. And that is what we did. We would have seen ourselves going for rehearsals. After milking, after taking the milk to Limuru Day, we had nothing else to do. We enjoyed myself meeting with you and the other people. When we just been meeting at that social hall, we were given manuscripts. We would not have known which part we were going to take, but we were given a told, go and do rehearsals for that play. That means we would have started right from the beginning, introduction, up to the end of it. That is when it is for you to feel which part are you going to select. Me, myself, I just selected that one of Kioi. I just carried away the way how Kioi is acting. I just started seeing it, the image of it. I started seeing the image of it, seeing the picture, how it is Kioi, how he is to behave himself. Depending on the family I'm born, and furthermore because of the greediness of Kioi, he would like to see himself with a stomach, he would like to see him his big plantation of tea, coffee, employing people. And that is like we just been saying, I used to hear people saying, even in youthhood, hey, tigano sio ni mutongo. That one is wealthy. You see the picture itself. But nobody wants to be poor. No, 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 no. We ourselves are just wanting to send a message. It's and everywhere. It's only because that is the moment we came to realize there is a difference between people, poor people. There's a difference between wealthy people, how the poor people are getting afflicted, how they are getting oppressed. You sympathize with them after probably you got out of the stage, because you would have seen some other poor people, how they feel, how they are getting affected. It's just like how we had gone to school to wake us up, to enlighten us, how we are getting deceived by probably those people. It's only because of Christianity had come to brainwash us. You may not be able to realize the good and the bad. It's only because John is telling me, what do you mean by that? I believe in God, I forgot about poverty. When I'm moving in the center, I want to enlighten you. I would like you to know about it. And that is why it was to be banned. And that is why we were sealed. At that time, it just been rehearsal. We had to do it. It was a matter of do or die. Even the moment you just been there, when it came to be on stage, it was you shape up or you shape out. I felt as if on top of the mountain. I enjoyed that. They could see now the difference. The message I've already got into you. That is the real message you just wanted. The writers themselves have done probably quite good research. It's only because they have seen, they just had been hearing complaints from the people just working at Bata. They've just been meeting and these days taking beer, how much probably someone is getting paid. Partly they came to realize what they've been talking about. And you heard the Kiwanda or Gishaba talking about something. You yourself are going to realize this man said something about something. And that is why probably say we come to a place like Bata, at that time, how much were they getting? They were getting peanuts. You're going to be a wife, you got 5 children, they want to eat, they want to drink. A packet of sugar by that time, it was probably 5 shillings. How much were you getting? Not more than 200 shillings. How much is it costing today, presently? It is 200 bucks. How much are we getting? What about the biggest percentage who are not employed? You feel the pinch. It had caught me into my blood. And that's why even after that, I came to like dramas. I would have taken any drama. That is what I say, that even the authors of the book, they did a very great thing. I congratulate them. Let's say we got so much affected about this, only because it's something we just been saying, doing each and every day, day in, day out. And now because we just been stopped with immediate effect. There's nothing we could have done, because by that time it was a Kanu era. And whomever gave the instructions, you could not have gone and complained or you do an appeal. Now you have gone back to where we were. It's only because by that time we just got busy, we were not idle. We found ourselves doing something. On that Sunday, if I can remember, were these people, Nairobi University people, they had, I don't know how many buses they had, probably 2 or 3 of them. And we had even started charging them 5 shillings per hand. And it was a house full. They would not even start even for 1 minute. Because whether it was a right which was brought by the police or the whomever were concerned, I could not be able to tell you. We just got the information. The praise not proceed on. Failure to that, you are going to be prosecuted. I was not the only person who just felt the pinch. There was some other people, including those old women. They just been cursing day in, day out. What is the government to do? What's wrong with them? They are the same Kioi. They are the same Ikuas. This is what they are doing to us. We had seen somewhere whereby our children had seen after whatever they had gone to work, to their working places. so that they may show Gogo Wazonga have done nothing. That is when the government of Moi give directions. Put a polytechnic there. Instead Gogo Wazonga badala ya arete kitu watoto wanajifunza mechanism, welding, plumbing. Sasa analeta maneno mengine hapa ya Ngaahika Ndeenda. Ngaahika Ndeenda inamaanisha nini? Would you have a complaint to him? Oh, not unless you want to go to Nyayo house. Yeah, even after that we enjoyed life. Sending the message. We had to go to Kioi country club. We got received by somebody, the Gigi Karaoke, the owner of the club. But before we proceeded on, the the government intervened. They said that you have come all the way from Kamĩrĩĩthũ and brought this play here. You want to poison people's mind here at Kioi. It's not going to go on. Had it not been for Paulo Meite, who intervened in that way, I know that by that time people feared lawyers, advocates, and whomever. No, what's wrong with that? You policemen, even you are supposed to read this play. You see whatever kind of message it's bringing out. You're bothering these people. They are not employed. They are getting their daily bread here from whatever they have charged here at the gate. After a long struggle, we started going on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. There is somebody else by the name Waveru. I don't remember the other names. He decided that he's going to be the sponsor for that play. He played a very big role because we had to go to Zeka Blue Post, we had to go to Muranga, we had to go to Meru, we had to go to Embu, we had to go to Nyeri, we had to go to Bomboruru, Mombasa, and had to go to another Kanu zone, Nakuru. That was a Kanu zone, but furthermore that one did not take place. We were surrounded by them, and they just thought that it's not going to take place. But finally, it took place. It is as if we had just been at Kamĩrĩĩthũ. There was no problem, there was no any difficulties. It was well organized. Even at Mombasa, the diet here, it was somewhere down, they were on top. That means you could be able to see each and everybody. If I thought we don't have enough fuel, we would have paid for it. It's only because we did not get enough money there. Apart from these old women, whatever we would have got if I thought it was not enough for us to share, they share among themselves. I have just been aware about it. Even most of them died because of that pesticide or whatever they want to call it. Just been calling it. And for the man who come to salary-wise, it was not enough for their families. They could not be able to, because of school fees, because of whatever they've been taking. Even the way you're going to clothe yourself, it's only because you would have seen somebody with the same clothes, the same shoe, for a full fortnight, for a full year. The salary is not enough depending on how much he is getting. I would have heard somebody complaining that he have started not feeling well. They just want them to see you, even though you are sick, always to be in the factory, still working, still working. That means you're sucking your blood. Especially I would give an example with my uncle. Higher, they just been taking her to that dispensary inside that the factory. When he got worse, we just taken by that fan of theirs at the only. He was to be taken back at the factory. And that is when he told his supervisor, I'm sorry, I can't be able to work. Give me permission. One permission. He was not taken by that one up to his home at Motarakwa. He had to walk. He took his own means. Is there any humanity there? They would have considered his health. They took that fund. But they say that it is using petrol. Who is more important? Is there the vehicle or the worker who is working there? He's just he was permanently employed there. Higher, when he was taken home, the following day just complained too much that he's having a backache of the spinal cord. My other uncle just took him with his vehicle. But he never reached at Kikuyu. He passed on the way. But me myself just hated Bata, just never wanted to be employed in that place. It's only because of the experience which I saw with my uncles. The experience I saw with my uncle's friends. Most of them are past tense. But at that time, I told my friends, it was much more worse. Whenever I would have burst, you would have heard somebody complaining. Now and then you getting taken to the hospital. Ukona homa, this kind of thing. It's only because I remember at one time, when the play was taking place, I heard as if they just wanted to have a strike. We would like pay increase. I don't know whether by that time there was this NHIF, I don't remember whether they had. It never took place. By the time the directors got wind that the people want to strike, the policemen, the APs, they made a telephone to them. These people want to strike and they're going to damage the factory. The factory was more than the people. It is probably had been better if I thought they would have been sacked and the factory to stay intact. It is better for them to go, yeah, rather for them to strike. Yeah, it is better for them, for those who are the readers. They got sacked. They never got any increment, as far as I know. Most of them, you will have seen them complaining of their legs. The legs have started getting water inside. Somebody can go and prepare the fire for her, and she gets something warm to warm her body, cup of tea. But not a cup of tea with milk. It's turugi. We didn't have milk by that time. And furthermore, they would not have been able to buy milk. With which, how much money was they getting? We were used to taking turungi. I have no problem with that one. It's only because even one of my child have taken a certain course in Mexico here. That is, it benefited the village itself. Not even the village. It's only because of other people coming from other places and they reside here at Kamĩrĩĩthũ. Some other people are not unable to take their children to higher schools. Financially, we are unable to do that. If at all you're going to be able to afford to pay for your child at the polytechnic, you bring it here. That one is so much good. I support it myself. If at all they can construct a certain theater in the place, I will be very so much happy about it. Now you have got two children of two ones, born by with one mother. Which is going to be praised so much by either the polytechnic or the theater? Polytechnic to stay there. And because it is a very big land, they put somewhere else whereby we can have a theater. As far as we are concerned, it's only because we did not go far. It was a short duration. Oh, no. Because of most of them are poverty-stricken. You know, some other people are living in abject poverty. You cannot even be able to go and tell her, I would like you to hear something about Ngaahika Ndeenda. Oh, no. I'm so much busy, I'd like to go to and work somewhere. After that, you know, he's getting bothered with whatever his children got to get. Not unless they've got nowhere to go, you come and see. It will better be on a Sunday, because after church, probably whoever going to get a chance might happen to come.
Tunyitane moko tuthondeke ituga. Mwiku